Hello and welcome to World Cinema Breakdown. And as usual, I'm your host, Utkarsh Raheja. And today we'll be looking at, as you just saw in the intro scene, the Suicide Squad. Not Suicide Squad from 2016, I'm talking about the Suicide Squad from 2021 by James Gunn. And if you know anything about this man, James Gunn, this man is talented as heck. He has directed so many things, written so many things. I'll get into him a little bit later, after I've watched the movie and I can break down more of his work. But I am so excited to get into this because, like I said, it's James Gunn. And usually his movies also have incredible music, as you might have seen in Guardians of the Galaxy. But with respect to this particular movie, my main motivation to watch this is actually because of the new DC show that just came out called Peacemaker. Till date, I have not seen any DC shows. I've seen all the MCU shows that came out last year and a few others in the past, but I haven't seen a single DC show, and I really wanted to change that, especially because it just came out. I was like, you know what? People are talking about it, and people say it's actually really good. I believe it came out 2 or 3 days ago, so I wanted to dive into it too. I wanted to enjoy it and maybe even make breakdown videos for every single episode as they come out week by week. But before I can do that, I figured, wait a minute. I don't know anything about the Peacemaker besides the fact that it's with John Cena. And while I'm not a biggest John Cena fan, he has been making some good movie choices because a lot of his stuff is comedy, and who doesn't enjoy a good comedy, right? But again, I don't know anything about the Peacemaker. I haven't read the comics, I haven't seen any of the past movies, but it turns out there's only one movie he's in, and that's The Suicide Squad from 2021. So why don't I check this out? And again, I have high expectations from this trailer and of course the movie itself after I do watch it because it's James Gunn. I mean, that man is just super talented, and I can't wait to get into him later on. But let's just go ahead and watch the trailer for now, and we'll go from there. Let's get this party started. Oh, I completely forgot. Idris Elba is in this too.
He's in prison for putting Superman in the ICU with a kryptonite bullet.
Huh.
I'm not joining your Suicide Squad.
We'll see.
I wonder if this character has a lot of callbacks from prior movies.
Miss Waller said maybe you could help me out.
Everyone stand down.
Miss Waller, I don't
Stand down.
I wouldn't take such extreme measures if this mission went more important than you could possibly imagine. Are you in or out? Good.
Looks like he has no
Let's meet your
choice.
team.
Like I said, the music as always.
Each member is chosen for his or her
Pete
own
Davidson.
completely unique set of
Wait, that was
abilities.
Michael Rooker, I believe. John Cena, Margot Robbie. I love a good ensemble cast, especially for superhero movies, if it's done right.
Is this thing a dog?
A dog? What kind of dog do you think it is?
I've never seen a dog like that.
Oh my god, is it a werewolf?
Yo, they turned it into a werewolf! Yo, let me out!
Hey, he's not a werewolf, okay? He's a weasel. He's harmless.
Harmless.
He's not harmless. He's killed 27 children.
Oh,
but, you know.
jeez. Beautiful mind.
Your
Hey.
mission is to destroy every trace of something known only as Project Starfish. Any questions?
Starfish is a slang term for a butthole. Think there's any connection?
No.
No.
No. Alright.
Harley has grown on me. I would say that.
This is suicide.
Well, that's kind of
What the heck? Was that like a starfish arm or something? Well, it's called Suicide Squad, so yes, they're dying. Oh my. I'm expecting some epic stunts in this.
My dad.
Wait, that literally was a starfish.
I'm
What
going
the
to
heck
get
is
you
going on?
out of here alive.
Gotta love Harley Quinn. The Suicide Squad. Bang, 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 bang,
Ratatouille?
bang. Ratatouille.
Bird.
Now, it. Stay off the comp.
Wow. You know, the trailer actually impressed me more than I had even expected to, because like I said, I have not seen the trailer, even though the movie came out like 4.5 months ago. And this is the oldest trailer I could find, because when I was searching for trailers to watch for this, I think there were like 4, 5, or maybe even 6 different trailers, like the Red Band trailer and something called the Rain trailer, and I don't know, just so many of them. But I chose this because I believe this was the official trailer, like the very first one that came out. And I'm hoping that this is a good representation of the movie, because The music was incredible. I believe there were 2 musical pieces we saw in there. Obviously, not too much of it, to not spoil the movie. But besides that, we saw like tiny little hints of many different characters, and I think we saw a little shark character. And I'll look into this, after I watch the movie and do the breakdown there. But I believe Sylvester Stallone did the voice acting for that, so they have quite an ensemble cast. And speaking of cast, I noticed Michael Rook, I believe it's Michael Rooker in there, the guy who plays Yondu in Guardian of the Galaxy, and of course Merle Dixon in The Walking Dead. And I mean, I love that guy. I love that guy in everything I've seen him in. So I hope he has quite a big role as well. But he was only there for a few seconds, barely a few seconds in the trailer. And of course we saw Margot Robbie, Idris Elba, John Cena, Pete Davidson. But yeah, it seems like a massive cast, and I don't really know anything about any of these, I guess, heroes, because they're technically superheroes, but they're supposed to be like the bad guys that band together to create a super team. But yeah, I don't know anything about any of them besides I guess Margot Robbie, and I'm trying to remember. I think Pete Davidson's character might have been in the previous Suicide Squad. And when I say previous Suicide Squad, this should not be confused with that one, because in their marketing they did a good job of emphasizing that this is not a sequel, prequel, none of that. This is James Gunn's version of Suicide Squad. But this looks like a lot of like good time, and I hope this is the one movie that sets off the whole chain of DC for me, because there's so many good DC movies. Well, good DC movies that I have yet to see, like Shazam or Wonder Woman and Aquaman, because a lot of them had mixed reviews, and like Aquaman, for example, didn't even have good reviews, so I haven't seen a lot of them. But I hope this sets off a chain of events where I end up watching a lot of DC content, especially because there's so many movies and even shows coming out this year, 2022. But for now, let's leave it at that, and I'm gonna go watch the movie and hopefully have a great time, and I'll share that with you as well. See you guys on the other side. Thank you. Whoop! And I'm back. Wow, that was quite a journey. Let me just get right into the non-spoiler section and go from there, because oh boy, do I have thoughts about this one. Let me begin my initial reaction, because 10 minutes into the movie, what am I watching? 15 minutes in the movie, I literally held my head and I said, I am losing brain cells. I am literally losing brain cells. What am I doing with my life? But it only got dumber and dumber from there, and I promise you, this is one of the stupidest yet funniest movies you'll see in quite some time, because what a great ride. What a great ride. Boy, am I glad I sat through those 10 minutes, because I'm not joking when I say it literally got dumber and dumber and dumber. And that actually makes this one of the most fun movies you'll see, because, there's, like, for example, Thor Ragnarok. It was stupid. There was a good story, and it was funny. Perfect combination. And I think this movie had all of the above as well. But with respect to, not spoiling much, I'm just going to stick to Mr. James Gunn. I'm going to talk about him, and then maybe briefly about the acting. But let's just get right into this man, James Gunn. What a talented guy. The guy you see on our screen right here, James Gunn. He is known to be a quote-unquote mad genius, and you could tell that from this movie, because this was not traditional in any sense, and that is what makes him him. And you know what? Look, just go ahead and take a look at this man's IMDb page right now. Take a look at the screen. What the heck do you see? Look at this. Like, how does he have so much talent in one head? He's a writer, producer, director, actor. He's done soundtrack. He's been, an assistant director, a cinematographer, done camera work. He's been a composer, done more stuff in the music department. He's been a production manager. I mean, where does it end? Like, what can this man not do? He has such a long list of credits that you literally have to do the little scroll down thing per role. I mean, what the heck? But as you can see there, he has 17 directing credits. And of those movies, I have personally seen only a few of those. I've seen Guardians of the Galaxy and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and of course this movie here, so 3 of his movies now. And my God, this man knows how to incorporate music into storytelling, and the way it was shot was also a part of the storytelling, because there are so many scenes that were just straight up chaotic. And I mean, when I say chaotic, I'm not talking about the way that people were acting or things like that, the camera work, but that added to it because the characters themselves were chaotic at times. And but moving on from him, let's talk a little bit about the acting, because in a movie that has such a wide ensemble cast, it's easy for some of the more big names to kind of slip through and not even, really make a mark. But of this massive cast, the two or three names that stood out to me in terms of how well their role was done, the acting itself, because we can talk about how a role was written or how much screen time somebody got, but that's not, the fault or merit of the actor. But with respect to acting, I have to say Idris Elba and Harley Quinn were definitely the two standout performances. And, maybe like a quote unquote honorable mention, or maybe like a third person, if I had to pick one, would have to be John Cena, because while his acting wasn't like on the same level as those two, he was such a big addition to the movie, not just as a star name, but in terms of what he brought to the table. Because I really did enjoy what he did with his role, because it was so different than those two. And as a matter of fact, even those two were so different, because all three of these names I've just given you, Idris Elba, Harley Quinn, and John Cena, all three of their characters were so drastically different from one another, and they played them so drastically different because of that. And I think these three were probably the most memorable characters from this movie. But you know what? Let's just jump right into the spoiler section, so that we can, we can get right to the good stuff, so to speak. And oh my, the good stuff! There was just so much great stuff to talk about, because, with respect to the filmmaking and some of the sequences and the way some of the fight scenes were done. But before I get to the fight scenes, let me continue on with the characters / acting. And there are so many minor characters, because, if you've seen the movie, which is why you're probably watching the spoiler part, there were so many minor characters in the beginning, because, Team 1, or whatever they were called, they all die off like almost immediately. But the one particular character in that team that I really wish got a lot more screen time, or maybe he was one of the main people, was Savant. Yes, he was the guy with long hair, Savant, and his name in real life is Michael Rooker, and I love that dude. For me, he'll always be Yondu from Guardians of the Galaxy, and he'll be Merle Dixon from The Walking Dead. And obviously, he's worked with James Gunn before because of Guardians of the Galaxy, and that dude is just, when he's on the screen, you watch him, because he has that screen presence, and you can't take your eyes off of him. And I was really hoping there'd be more of him, because the way the movie starts out, it starts off, painting from his face, and then just so on and so forth. You're just like, wow, this dude is a badass. And then he just ends up running away a few minutes into the movie because he's just too scared. What a turn of events, right? But let's dive into the 6 main characters. I guess technically there's 7, but I'm going to focus on 6 of them, and I'll make it brief, because I could sit here and talk about those 6 characters for a long time. But, let's just get to the meat of it. Harley Quinn, Margot Robbie, did an excellent job. And I loved that her character was such that every time you see a fighting sequence with her in it, it's almost like she's a little kid. She's literally like in a playground, and it's not even like it's not a task. It's not something she's being forced to do. It's just, that's her element. Killing people and fighting is her element. And as a matter of fact, one of my favorite scenes from the movie was actually, let's just take a look at this scene before I talk about it. So yeah, let's take a look at this right here. What a beautiful sequence. The reason I chose this particular sequence for Margot Robbie is because her character Harley Quinn, I believe there are 2 or 3 instances of this kind of a thing happening where she's killing people, and it's just like la la la. It's like happy music. There's flowers everywhere. Her character was the only one where you see happy music being played when she's killing people, and I think that goes right along with her character. So excellent choice there. But moving on to Ratcatcher 2, I've never seen this character, and boy was she a fun character. Who would have thought summoning rats, using that little device she uses, would be a superpower, and actually a useful one at that, because she played a crucial role in, defeating the big starfish at the end. And I also love that her character, along with many of the main ones, had a pretty great character arc, and you get to find out more about her past, and you also get to see like the human side of her, as you do with some of the other ones, is because I remember there was a sequence where she's speaking about her father and, you know, how she even got to learn how to summon the rats. And it was cool to see that she felt like the scum of society, right? Because her father was, you know, not doing well in life, so to speak. They were literally living on the streets, summoning rats, and they were the scum of society. And here she is. Now she's made a lot of friends, and she's literally saved the world. So she had a great character arc, and, you know, she also became really close to Idris Elba's character, which let's just touch up on him as well. Bloodsport, Idris Elba's character. He was quite a character because he wasn't like any of the other ones. He was here on a no bullshit mission. He didn't care if anyone's here to have fun, here to make friends, or if you're forced to be here. He just wants to come in, do his job, protect his daughter, leave. And I actually think the way he did his character, oh my god, he was easily the most memorable character for me, and he had so many great scenes. And I loved like the ranting between him and Peacemaker, whom I'll get to immediately next. It was just such a great I don't want to use the word chemistry because they had none, but then at the same time they had such great chemistry because it was such a banter between the two, ongoing nonstop, which just made it so fun because, you know, it's a serious movie, but it's also like hilarious at the same time and it's serious because it's, you know, such a mission where they're literally probably gonna die, hence Suicide Squad. And, you know, his character adds to the seriousness as well. But like I said, I've seen, you know, a lot of his things, but this was probably the most memorable, which is weird to say because he's been in such great works. But let's see, Peacemaker, yes. Peacemaker was a weird character because he was taking himself too seriously, and I think that was the whole point of it. He was taking himself too seriously to the point where he considers himself Peacemaker, and this little thing is referred to multiple times in the movie that he's called Peacemaker, but he just loves killing people. He's just smashing heads, destroying lives. But that's what he does because he thinks in his head he's doing the right thing to protect peace or ensure peace. And it can be a little dangerous because as you saw in the movie that, you know, the lady giving them instructions was easily able to manipulate him to kind of do her dirty deeds or her dirty tasks because he thought he was doing the right thing and doing it for peace, so much so that he was willing to kill his newfound friends. Maybe friends is not the right word, but come on, they've been together for quite some time and really built up that camaraderie. And let's see, who's the next character? Oh, King Shark. Well, I don't even know what to say with respect to the acting here because at the end of the day, this was an animated character along with, you know, the voicing of Sylvester Stallone. And I think this was such a great character because he was almost solely there for gore / comedic relief. And he would literally say the dumbest things in the dumbest moments, and that's probably why he was there because he wasn't one of those standout, I'm gonna kill everybody type of characters, or hey, I'm the leader. He was just there doing his thing, and you know, initially I was just like kind of weirded out by his character because he's trying to kill Ratcatcher because he's hungry. But then of course I loved his character arc as well because he ends up becoming really good friends with her, and by the end of it, you know, by the end of the movie, he considers them like a family almost. And speaking of character arcs, one thing I forgot to mention with respect to Bloodsport is that I loved his arc as well because he hates rats, and like I said, he was there as a no bullshit mission type of thing. But then by the end of it, he really cares about Ratcatcher and even King Shark, whose name is Nanawe. And at the end of it, he starts petting the rat, and he says, "Screw it, let me just do this because the rat loves me. Why can't I give that love back?" And he tries it out, and he's not as weirded out as he was initially. So that was a great character arc as well. Now, the only last character that I haven't touched on yet, one of the main superheroes, is the meta-human named Polka Dot Man. And that's kind of on the dot type of name, no pun intended. That's literally an on the dot type of name because his power is shooting polka dots. Who the heck came up with that? But what a role, right? I mean, what a fun role to play. And his moments were hilarious with the whole mother thing. It kept coming up back, like not again and again, but 2-3 times, and it was multiple great callbacks. And I remember at the end, he's literally picturing that massive starfish to be a massive version of his mother, and wow. And he felt like he's a superhero after he, you know, takes her down in his eyes. But that was a great character too. It's just unfortunate that some of these characters including Polka Dot Man, they died. So the only way we can see them is if it's like a prequel or a standalone movie. And at the moment, I don't know if there's going to be a Polka Dot Man movie, but interesting character nonetheless. Now let's continue on with the storytelling, the way things were shot, or just the way that things were portrayed through James Gunn's his mad genius, as I said earlier. The way he uses music is so evident in his work because if you've seen either of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and he's directing 2 more Guardians of the Galaxy movies, by the way, that are in either post-production or production at the moment. And if you've seen this movie, which I hope you have if you're here, is the fact that the music is such a big part to the story because, it's there as another almost element to the storytelling and not there as a side thing. It's not there to enhance it. It's there because it's a part of it. And that's hard to do because oftentimes with music, I'm not talking about background noise or sound or things like that. I'm talking about like straight up music. While a fight sequence is happening, it's just there to make it look epic. In this case, it made you enjoy it more. And like I said earlier, when Harley Quinn is fighting, there'll be a different type of sound or vibe to it. Whereas if Peacemaker is fighting or Bloodsport is fighting, it's different. And that actually adds to their characters as well, not only the story. And moving on from the music, about the way things were shot or told, every now and then there were these chapter titles, so to speak, where it would say, presented by Warner Brothers, or it would say 3 months later or earlier, just things like that. Let me put up a few of those on the screen so you know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so there's the come on, look at this. This is so non-traditional, and I love that because these are an alternative to just simply having a black screen saying 2 months earlier, 3 months earlier, now, or blah blah blah. Like, this just makes it so much more fun, so to speak. And this movie is literally just that, right? A bunch of just fun, crazy stuff, goofy stuff happening with some serious action, of course. And my favorite was the one you see on the far right here, the Jotunheim one, because all the other ones you see on the screen here, they're not really necessarily natural because they're kind of, you see things in the sand or you see that fire, but then Jotunheim is literally a bunch of metallic parts, and it's shot in such an angle that you could see the word Jotunheim spelled out, which is just so cool. And these are just a few things that these are like the details that make one director stand out from another, or one storyteller stand out from another, because these are simple things that you don't have to go above and beyond for, but if you do, it really makes your piece stand out. And I just, overall, this was such a great time. And like I said, the first 10 minutes in, 15 minutes in, I already had preconceived notions because of those 15 minutes, and I was like, wow, this might be my lowest rated movie till date. But it ended up being the exact opposite, and I highly recommend this movie because, like I said, James Gunn is a genius, and I mean, come on, look at his star cast: Idris Elba, Harley Quinn, John Cena, and a few others, which, and every single character and every single actor or actress held their own. It wasn't like the Idris Elba show, or it wasn't the John Cena show. Everyone contributed equally, I would say, and that's not often the case with ensemble casts, and this was an ensemble cast done right. And I think DC's really headed in the right direction because this was dark, but it was also so funny that it was an amalgamation of things you don't often see in Marvel movies. Yeah, sure, Deadpool, but how many of Deadpool-like movies really are there in Marvel? Not that many. So I think DC has their own thing going, and I hope they grow from here because, as I was just looking at what else is upcoming for DC in 2022, I saw multiple projects, more than I even had heard of, which is great because, as someone who hasn't explored DC too much, this is probably the right time to get into it. And let's see, with respect to the overall ranking or rating of this movie, it's tough because, initially I had that Marvel DC bias, but I just ended up enjoying it so much. I don't even know what to say besides it was such a fun time that you have to watch this. And if you watch it with your friends, I promise you'll have an even better time. I didn't watch it with my friends, but now that I've seen it, I wish I had. But I would like to say that this is this will be tough because I wanted to give it a 9, but I'm really tough to please in that matter, so I don't know about a 9, but I'll definitely give it an 8.5 because, it has its minor flaws, but the merits it had are just unforgettable. And I think this I'm saying this as a throwaway statement. I'm not going to get too into it because it's everyone's opinion. I think this movie was significantly better than the original Suicide Squad from 2016. But like I said, 8.5. Please watch this movie if you haven't already. And even if you have, hey, go watch it again. Go watch it with some of your buddies, your friends, or whomever. But overall, thank you so much for joining me, and hopefully you will catch my next video on the Peacemaker. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.